Hi, I'm Robin Joy Meyers.
Blah, blah, blah.
And I forget what I do. What am I supposed to cut me out again?
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Lunch and Life with Sharon and Robin. I'm Sharon Holand-Gelfand, your co-host. I'm a holistic and functional lifestyle nutritionist, and I help women over 40 get to the root of their most common health complaints with at-home testing and flexible food choices so they have more energy, less stress, and feel great again. And I'm here with my co-host, Robin.
Thanks, Sharon. I'm Robin Joy Meyers, a former molecular geneticist turned F.E.A.R strategist, and I empower women to embrace the 3 C's of life: choice, chance, and change, and find their true joy. Just own you.
Robin, we have been unpacking detox of the mind and the body for the last 3 weeks. And we were talking about how you and I have had our own experiences going through all of these changes. And I actually thought it would be great for our audience for us to just kind of talk about what we've gone through and how we, didn't even have our own direct line, how it was all squiggly.
I think it's a really good idea because we wanted to really wrap up the whole concept by talking about taking action.
What's the one memory that you have, or the one experience that you went through that you can share with us that was that moment, or where that stirring occurred that you paid attention to?
Oh, wow. I'm not really sure if it's one exact moment. I can tell you the one bigger moment, but the inkling started around my 50s. Kids were all teenagers. They are 2 and 2.5 years apart. So now 2 boys and a girl. After I taught high school bio, an opportunity came up for a nonprofit organization as director of education. On paper, it was the ideal situation. However, here's a big however, I worked for this woman who frankly was having her own issues. She's a little older than I am, and she triggered the old Robin and set me back years in my head. It was a very large job. It had to do with National Park Services and creating mini movies for the national parks. It was in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania for the big premiere. So there were school boards there. There were a lot of dignitaries there. It was a big deal. It was big presentation. And so I was to introduce the movies and of course thank the school and all school board, school teachers and everybody. My boss was up giving her big spiel about whatever. And then she kept tapping her leg. I'll never forget this. She kept tapping her leg that I should come closer to the podium. And I'm looking at her like, one, what are you trying to tell me? And 2, are you out of your mind? And she kept like tapping her leg and then like using her finger like this to come to her. And I was just like, 1, mortified, and 2, like, no, I don't think so. When it was time, I went up to the podium. I was introduced to come up. I welcome everybody, introduce the kids, and it's a big deal for them. Movies go on, everything's great. Gave the first very large presentation that I've ever given. Afterwards, she pulled me aside mad that I didn't listen to her and come up when she was calling me. But what it did was it triggered the old Robin to like obey. And I literally was so mad, angry, upset, like, that people pleaser in me, but the angst of pleasing someone like that. It was a very dark day because it really sent me down that tunnel. And, but I decided to quit. It started a process for me of I would never work for someone who was going to silence my voice. And silencing my voice, I was done with that. And so I was coming up towards the age that when my mom passed away, which was at 53, I had a daughter who was almost 21. So when I turned 53, my daughter Kira turned 21. And I realized how precious time was. And I realized that she is a woman, a young woman who needs a mother and has a voice. I realized how young 53 was. It just brought up all this stuff. And it was really the trigger that just let me kind of just step into my power and create.
Wow. I never knew that. Thanks for sharing that. It's almost as though you went through this traumatic physical and emotional experience.
I really did suffer from PTSD. Actually, most of us in the office suffers from PTSD. Everyone quit somewhere in her reign. Um, and some of us still get together asking how we're all doing. There was trauma involved. It's interesting that you say that, because there really was some weird trauma in there. You know, she was very narcissistic, and you know, I hope she's doing well in her own right. But yeah, there was trauma to it.
That took a lot of courage for you to step into your power, right? To go to feel the fear and do it anyway. Because
Mm-hmm.
most of us do get stuck. We're like a deer in headlights of, we know we should do something, but we panic, and that fear, instead of propelling us forward, keeps us stuck.
It was very interesting because it also then stirred up a lot of other things, right? I was making quite a nice salary, um, along with insurance and everything else. So went for covering college tuition and all of what went with that, to saying, oh, guess what? To my husband, like, I'm not paying for that right now. You are.
It just goes to show the importance of detoxing the triggers, detoxing the emotion, and be, willingly going down that rabbit hole to explore what that is, and being willing to peel back those layers, which is where we all get stuck, right? It's all part of that unconsciously incompetent,
Mm-hmm.
consciously incompetent, but then it's okay, do I take that step forward, or nah, let me stay in this comfort zone even though I'm miserable?
It really becomes learning to sit, being uncomfortable, trusting who you are, and saying, I know that I'm going to be okay. I am so much better than if I stayed there.
Yeah, and we don't see that until after the fact because we don't have a crystal ball. So it's really taking that leap of faith. But when it feels right and it feels in alignment,
Mm-hmm.
and we trust, right? We talked about last week about that trust, when we can trust and tune in,
Right.
and then we can take that action, we can take that step forward, knowing that we have that faith and that trust, and it will work out. It will work out, and we just need to take that first step.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's interesting because with me, I was thinking back to, because it's health and diet and food, nutrition, before I was a nutritionist, I'm like, I knew nothing about health and nutrition. And, I thought iceberg lettuce was healthy. I thought a bran muffin from, one of those fast food places was healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to say which one, but I didn't connect to any of it. And then, of course, it was after the fact, looking back, realizing I had so many health issues growing up. I was lactose intolerant. I was either constipated or I had gas. I just was not comfortable in my skin. I was teased of being fat and having big ears. And so my self-esteem and the way that I thought about myself was like down the toilet, literally. And then as I got older, I developed anemia, and I had IBS, and I had eczema, and I was constantly getting sinus infections and strep throat and these styes on my eyes. And it's just amazing because your body reacts. It can react emotionally, it can react physically, because it manifests differently in all of us. And with you, with me, like these triggers, they're like all these little pebbles that get thrown at you,
Right.
and you kind of like, oh, that hurt, oh, that hurt, you just kind of like flick it off like a fly. Then it's like rocks that get thrown at you, and it's like, oh wow, I have a bruise, but then a brick gets thrown at you, and you would think that maybe that'll be your wake-up call. And sometimes it's not a wake-up call until someone, like for me, my son getting diagnosed with Crohn's becomes the wake-up call. And I looked at it as a blessing in disguise, because I didn't know, I just, you don't know what you don't know. And as my body was falling apart and I was compartmentalizing everything and going to all these different doctors and taking shots for my migraines, I even had Botox. Oh, so this is a funny story. So I went to my neurologist, and he would give me shots for my migraines. And then I would lay there for a little while in a dark room. And then one time he tried Botox. And I was like, ooh, Botox. I'm like, I just need a little bit here. just, just a little bit, And
my migraine is right here right now.
You see these little lines right here. Yeah, let's just put a little there. And I mean, yeah, it was kind of serious, but, having a little fun with him. And he just looked at me. He was like, I can do that purpose. And I just thought, oh man, all right, fine. But just getting back to when you go to all these different specialists, you don't think twice. Nobody told me that I was sick. Nobody told me I wasn't healthy. I was just getting older. This is normal. Expect for this to happen. But what I've learned and what we discover, right, is that normal it's not. It's common. And there's a difference between the two words, because it's not normal, right? Our bodies are talking to us, but we just don't know where to turn. And I was one of those people, and I ended up in the hospital when my kids were young. I will never forget this. And even this wasn't my wake-up call, because my son's diagnosis was. This should have been. But I just remember my kids were young, and I got up in the morning early to go to the gym, because I tried to do it before they woke up. I just remember sitting up in bed, and I just saw stars, and I felt this pain shooting from the top of my head all the way to the bottom. And I literally fell back in bed. I thought I was going to pass out. I was nauseous. Pain beyond delivery pain, so bad. And I just was laying there, and I just remember just saying to my former husband, I was like, I can't move. Like, wake up. I think I'm paralyzed. I couldn't move. I couldn't. After I fell back down, I could not. When I say, went back on my pillows, and he's like, I woke him out of a deep sleep, and he's like, what's going on? And I told him what happened. And he goes, can you wiggle your fingers and your toes? And I was like, oh yeah, okay, I can wiggle my fingers and my toes, but I couldn't move anything. It's like, okay, you're not paralyzed, right? Because you can wiggle your fingers and your toes. You have to get to the hospital. I can't move. I can't get up to get to the hospital. Like, So eventually I took some Valium, and I was able to at least get out of bed, and I spent the day in the hospital, CAT scans, MRIs, and it turned out that I had this pinched nerve from stress and life and everything, and I had been eating my emotions.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Eating them physically, I mean, everything about it. And I had known, I'd get this little and I would ignore it, continue on, right? We get these signs, and I just would ignore it. But even going to physical therapy for 4 months, 3 times a week, because I couldn't lift my arm past this in my head. So driving was very difficult when you have kids that you have to take to school.
Right.
Even that wasn't my wake-up call. And, I'm sharing this because these are those moments where we have a choice. And, maybe somebody who's watching this, maybe this will resonate, something I've said, something you've said that will resonate of like, wow, maybe I should pay attention. Maybe I should write down, right? We talked last week about
writing it down.
Now I can go back to my timeline and understand everything that was going on, every symptom, that day in the hospital, everything, and heal. It's just, that's that magic wand of, wow, I imagine life. I needed him to be diagnosed for me to fully wake up and realize that I had been sleepwalking.
Isn't that amazing though? It's so amazing to me because I I am a believer things happen, like for reasons. And if that didn't happen, obviously your poor son for having to go through it though, would you be at where you're at?
Questions of, what did I do wrong? Like I should have been able to see this or fix this or, just, and then you realize that no, it's not that you did something wrong. It's just waking up and realizing that when you don't know what you don't know, you did the best that you could.
Exactly.
And now that you know more, now it's, okay, how do I move forward from here? So I really questioned everything that I did.
Wow.
And that took me a long time to unpack and work through. And that self-discovery of baby steps, one thing at a time. I'm here now.
Mm-hmm.
What can I do from here to just move forward? And that detoxing was both physical and mental and emotional. And it's ongoing because we're fluid human beings, right? And our bodies are also, things are just always changing. So we have to flow with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's lifestyle, it's never done.
In general, we have to be very careful that we don't look back and hold on to the, hindsight's 2020 sort of idea and say, but if I only did this, I mean, we can't live that way. We really can't. And we have to be able to look at past imprints or whatever and forgive and move on. And the forgiveness is of ourselves and say, I did the best I could with what I had.
The past is the past. We can only learn from it. And if it's a trigger, it's how do I shift the story? How do I shift the words? What can I do to move forward?
Mm-hmm.
It's always about that, because otherwise, we're always looking in the rearview mirror and then we don't see what's ahead of us.
Exactly. So I think a good action step for that is to really understand what that story is and write down what that story is and what that future story will be. Because I think again, the out of your head, through your hands onto paper, I think it's priceless to do exercises like this because you do have to be able to move forward. And again, our brain is great at keeping us held in certain patterns and beliefs. And so as much as we're telling ourselves one thing, we take a break, we do something, we go to sleep, and then our brain can still switch the story on us because we're not consciously looking at, the change in the story.
This has been an amazing 4-week unpacking of Detox.
Yeah, I love this. I really love this.
I think that being able to take these baby steps and be kind to ourselves and write things down, asking what we want from the day, how do we want to feel, what foods are serving us. There's so many ways to get started. And at the end of the day, it's picking one thing and just starting.
Just starting. Just take the action and just start.
Well, thank you, Robin, for unpacking lunch.
Thank you for having lunch and unpacking lunch and life with me.
So we're going to continue next month with a new series. Stay tuned for what that subject is going to be. Have a great day, everyone.
Take care.